Hello common people, this is a Common Guy Reviews and I am your lovely host, Pepse. Coming from the land of rich history, a lot of sand and still mind-boggling monuments, The Mummy from 1932 is at today's agenda. An American pre-code supernatural horror film directed by Carl Freund. Story written by Nina Wilcox Putman and Richard Sawyer. Screenplay by John L. Balderstrom and produced by Carl Laemmle Jr. Cinematography is by Charles Stumar, and holy hell, there is a lot of people working on a single movie back in the days. And it is no wonder, this movie needed a lot of crafting to succeed. Inspired by the opening of Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922 and the curse of the pharaohs, this movie and its story was crafted. High Priestess Imhotep falls in love with the princess Anck-su-namun and sadly dies. Imhotep goes against it all, trying to resurrect her by using a scroll of thought that is basically their version of Book of the Dead. This horrible cardinal sin shall not go unpunished. Imhotep is sentenced to be mummified alive and is in a nameless tomb. They throw his casket to the sand, the slaves who dug the grave killed by the soldiers who are also slain after, so nobody aside the pharaoh who is close to this case shall exist. Imhotep's name was to be erased from history. Such was the weight of his crime. Now we arrive at the beautiful year of 1921. An archaeological expedition led by Sir Joseph Wemple finds the ancient mummy that belongs to the priest Imhotep. At the same time, mysterious box is found, and then there's this happy-go-lucky archaeologist Ralph Norton just who can't keep his hands to himself. Even after being warned of the terrible curses it might contain, Ralph opens the box, and so awakens Imhotep. Seeing a 1,000-year-old mummy walk away, Ralph goes mad and soon after dies. First victim has been claimed. Imhotep's only goal is to resurrect Anck-su-namun and lead their love to the immortal realms. This same plot was retold in modern film The Mummy in 1999. That was starred by the actor named Brendan Fraser, so you might know a flick I'm talking about. I really liked that movie when I was a teenager. The story is old, like really old. Mummies have a rather interesting history. The first living mummies in fiction were mostly female, presented in a romantic and sexual light, usually as love interest for the protagonist, harboring the colonial romanticization of the East. Such stories are, for example, The Mummy's Food by Théophile Gautier, The Jewel of the Seven Stars by Bram Stoker, and The Ring of Thoth Arthur Conan Doyle. So that is what Wikipedia at least says. This movie, The Mummy and Boris Karloff as Imhotep were the pioneers of the monster version of The Mummy. It is wild to think that before this everyone just wanted to have sex with the mummies, conquering exotic love. Of course, this trend of thinking bandits are hot carries all the way to the modern days, but at least this movie gave mummies a bit of more depth as a living curses or monsters. But the thought of the deceased coming back alive is nothing new. Mummies are just one of the bunch. They basically are like zombies, but many times mummies, unlike zombies, are presented with some minor level of intellect. In this movie's case, Imhotep was especially cunning, horrifyingly emotionless, and when he uttered ancient curses under his breath, you could feel the pharaoh's curse seeping in. An iconic monster indeed. In literature, undead mummies first pop up by their sarcophages in a story The Mummy, or A Tale of the 22nd Century, an 1827 novel written by Jane C. Loudon. Early science fiction work concerns an Egyptian mummy named Cheops, who is brought back into life in 22nd century. The Mummy was a cool movie. I happen to own a box where I have a multiple of the most brilliant universal monsters, and I shall plan to watch some more of them in the Halloween to present more awesome monsters to you people. But this was my review about The Mummy. May Imhotep now finally find peace. This was Common Guy Reviews and your host today, the old me, Pepse. I'll see you all Spooktober enjoying mummy loving people in the next review. Goodbye.